you're watching this video, I'm willing to bet your summer break is not going how you think it is, and I'll tell you why. Yes, I do realize the irony of making a video about summer with a holiday coffee mug, but we'll move past that. What's going on, guys? My name is Pierce and I'm an upcoming first-year medical student. That feels weird to say. I just finished undergrad, so this is the summer before it all begins. For the vast majority of students, whether you're a high schooler, a college undergrad, or a grad student, summer break is a time to relax, unwind, and forget about all your troubles. In the 16 years of summers that came before this, I've noticed some things from personal experience that reframe my perspective on summer. All right, tip number one, there's nothing special about summer. Now, I know you're thinking this is just slander, but bear with me and I'll explain. It's all about changing the rhetoric and reframing what we believe summer to be. Most people have a strong disconnect on what they think break feels like versus being in the actual day-to-day of being on break. I want you to picture something. If you're on summer break right now, you might perfectly understand it, but if you're not, picture yourself waking up late in the day on some day in mid-June. You don't have any responsibilities and there's no plan for the day in sight. Instead of getting up and sticking to a plan or goal, you sleep in late, and if you're like most of us, you just might have stayed up doom scrolling on social media the night before. To add to that, there's probably a chance that you have no idea what day of the week it is. Now, this isn't to say that any of this is bad at all, but if this sounds familiar, I want to introduce a new alternative plan that may be better. And this gets into tip number two. Tip number two is that all relaxation is not created equally. The key here is to get more good relaxation and less bad relaxation. Now, I'm defining these two categories of relaxation based on the level of fulfillment you get afterwards or retrospectively. For example, spending an hour scrolling and an hour going on a walk in nature are technically both an hour of relaxation. But at the end of the day, they give you two very different rewards. The reward that one of these offers is purely in the short term. You open your phone, scroll, turn off your phone. If you're lucky, you might have had a few laughs or found a recipe you didn't know you needed. However, the other has been proven to reduce stress and anxiety by lowering cortisol levels, promoting cardiovascular health, and fostering a sense of mindfulness. And I'm not recruiting you to be a nature enthusiast. For me personally, I feel the best on days when I go for a walk, maybe swim, go on a drive somewhere, or watch a movie that I've been meaning to get around to. Although it might feel chill or relaxing to stay on your phone for the whole day or catch up on what the next celebrity is doing in New York, opting for a more fulfilling and intentional way of relaxation can reap dividends in the future when looking back on your summer. And this brings us to tip number three. Tip number three is don't do both, relax or stick to a plan. The concept of cognitive switching costs is well studied and shows that switching between tasks incurs time and cognitive resources, leading to potentially higher stress. Applying that, let's say your plan for the day is to go bowling with some friends. Let's also say somebody's been bothering you about some emails you need to respond to at some point in the day. Doing both of those tasks at the bowling alley defeats the purpose of maximally enjoying quality time and may lead to less efficient communication, not to mention your friends pestering you when it's your turn to bowl. The same idea in its most basic form can be thought of as doing the most basic type of relaxation, meditation, and then trying to do any other task with it. The same applies in its inverse. When you do decide to work or plan, having the TV on or playing a game while doing so is counterproductive. You may be asking, why would I stick to a plan at any point on break? To that, I'd say intentionality directly combats the feeling of time slipping away from you. In this case, looking back on a summer that flew by. The more things you have planned, the more things you'll get around to doing. It's that simple. Whether it be planning a weekend getaway with some friends or trying out that new hobby, this makes room for those good relaxation moments that leave you satisfied with the summer. If you're still watching the video at this point, thank you. You can probably tell this is my first time making any type of content or video like this, so it's definitely not the highest quality, and if I'm being honest, I'll probably look back on it in a few years and think it was terrible. But my goal is to provide other students like myself with value to help improve, and hopefully the content gets better from here. Alright, tip number 4 is movement with reduced friction. Summer break is an incredible time to try new things or implement new habits that you'll plan to carry over into the school or work year. Now that we've established which activities are worth your time, let's use summer and the leverage it provides to move forward with them. So whether that's meal prep, creating an optimal desk setup, exploring new hobbies, tracking your diet, staying on top of finances, or planning a trip, all of these are things that require a bit of upfront time and attention to detail that you likely won't have in the middle of a school or work year. And you will thank yourself when classes roll around if you did these. I've personally been working through a few of these, as you could tell, getting some meal prep down. So we all know that often the hardest part of any task or anything you set yourself to for that matter is just beginning. However, that's not all you have to do. 2 months is the amount often cited as the time it takes to implement any new habit. It's very similar to the reason why people's New Year's resolutions often fall off. Aside from the fact that it's an arbitrary time, you hop straight back into the next semester or your job just a few days later and expect yourself to put in the same maximum effort on that task. And those few days are definitely not long enough to start a new habit. However, applying this to summer, you can see how starting something earlier with little to no school on your plate makes it that much easier to get something going. Momentum is hard to stop once the ball gets rolling. It's the same reason people say to get a strong start and not dig a hole for yourself early on. And this brings me to the 5th and final tip. And that is to just get going. Now that we have a framework on what we should be doing, how can we implement this? First things first, there's never been as good a time as now to get started on something you've been meaning to do or are interested in. Regret is a huge driving force for a lot of people, and we can actually use this to our advantage in this case. If you're on break or approaching break sometime in the near future, as hard as it is to think about, go ahead and envision yourself on that first day of class or work after break. Now that you've done that, make a mental note of some of the things that you would regret not having done or at least tried that were well within your capacity to do over the break. Again, like exploring hobbies, going on a trip, or trying to implement that new habit. You can use that thought process to get some momentum going that will carry over into the school year. Then simply take action. If you have to, make a checklist, group chat, calendar, or whatever works best for you to assign each thing to a specific time. That way you know when that time comes around, that planning is complete and you'll be ready to go with no delay. To wrap things up, the reality is that summers will really only last so long for your life, excluding a few specific occupations. So make the most of it through fully relaxing or fully working on your interests. If you implement these tips in a way that works for you, hopefully instead of feeling like you're just going through the motion or burnt out or drab, you'll feel more present, fulfilled, and relaxed. If you've made it all the way to the end of the video, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I've always wanted to try making videos and this one was fun to make, so thanks for watching.